Another subtle yet devastating aspect of the global conspiracy is their manipulation of calendars, clocks, and our perception of time. We are being enslaved by man-made mechanisms and systems for keeping time. Not only are we wage slaves to bankers, governments, bosses, and landowners, but we are also time slaves to our watches, clocks, and calendars. We slave to 9-to-5 school and work days. We slave to 5-day school and work weeks. We are spiritual slaves to Greenwich Mean Time, the Gregorian calendar, and an unnatural 7-day week. Buried Inside from Chronoclast wrote, "Time is the primary socializing tool, and the clock is the key machine of industrial capitalism. The imperialism of space and material is everywhere evident, but the imperialism of time is a shadowy beast. What is of direct concern is how time is perceived, controlled, exploited, manipulated, institutionalized, and internalized. If we do not understand time, we become its victims. One thing remains apparent. Time politics are power politics. Every sundial, watermill, calendar, week cycle, social policy, and temporal monument has served a particular interest and ideology. The hallmark of these, of course, has always been technological power and chauvinist control. In the service of precision, the atomic second is now defined as the duration of 9,192,631,770 particle oscillations within a cesium-133 atom. If you follow the sun and moon to keep track of time instead of clocks and watches, many things change. If stores open at sunup and close at sundown, managers cannot anally enforce punching time cards. If you tell your friends to meet you at the river when the sun touches the tree line, you naturally, patiently wait for them while watching a beautiful sunset. If you tell your friends to meet you at the mall at 7:30 p.m., then you must constantly look at your wrist or the wall, watching a series of cumulatively frustrating numbers. Samuel Macy wrote, "That people can be characterized as wound up, run down, rusty, or going like clockwork is essentially a product of 17th century thought. It implies not only that their work may be accurately measured, but also that their motions can be studied. Given proper incentives, they will follow predetermined and appropriately mechanical patterns. When indoctrinated into meaningless calendars, like the Gregorian and Julian, wristwatches, 9-to-5 workdays, and 5-day work weeks, people most certainly do follow predetermined, mathematically calculable patterns and tendencies. We like to have a drink after work. We like to watch a movie at the weekend. We like coffee in the mornings. We buy flowers on Valentine's Day, and so on. Our tendencies can be calculated and exploited by elites. Those who exist outside the constraints of time, wage slavery, have all the time and money they need to perform studies, hire psychologists, lobbyists, and advertisers to further their gains. Time is money, so they say." Jeremy Rifkin wrote, "In hierarchical time culture, status is often delineated in terms of how valuable a person's time is. The time poor are made to wait, while the temporally privileged are waited upon." Jose Arguelles wrote, "Gets us back to the theme of time is money. No wonder time is money is ingrained into our consciousness and culture, and that seems to be the main purpose of the calendar we use, to keep track of our accounts, pay our bills, and set up our appointments. We might not think about it this way, but the calendar we use programs us to use it the way we do. But are all calendars like this one? Nothing more than an arbitrary program to take care of business? What about the sun, the moon, and the stars? Okay, let's keep this one point in mind. A calendar is a programming device. It programs the culture, the people, the society that uses it. It creates a feedback loop between the mind of the user and its program. The nature of the calendar determines the nature of the society." Buried Inside wrote, "Secured at birth and bred as fresh livestock, to the power brokers of hypercapitalism, our lives are on the auction block. Make way for the experience economy. Make way for the access economy. Make way for the new time currency. Welcome it all like the coming of Rome." Karl Marx wrote in Das Kapital that to work at a machine, The workman should be taught from childhood in order that he may learn to adapt his own movements to the uniform and unceasing motion of an automaton. This statement has been implemented into our government and corporate institutions in many ways. Students align themselves with the approximate 9 to 5, 8-hour workday, 5 days a week. We take this coincidence for granted or explain it away by the convenience of aligning work and school schedules for daycare purposes. But in reality, what it instills is this psychological mechanism of slavishly submitting to the regulated schedules of employers. Also, the factory-like seating and positioning of a boss at the blackboard, giving out standardized directives, is a product of the industrial age. Without this long-term conditioning from a young age, would we so willingly sell our lives for minimum wage? Jeremy Rifkin wrote, "We are making the transition into what economists call an experience economy, a world in which each person's own life becomes, in effect, a commercial market. In business circles, the new operative term is the lifetime value of the customer, the theoretical measure of how much a human being is worth if every moment of his or her life were to be commodified in one form or another in the commercial sphere. Time has been broken down for us in many ways, some of which make sense and others which seem senseless. Many delineations of time have astronomical significance, which seem sensible. The sun and Earth's interaction gives us a yearly cycle, the moon's lunation pattern gives us a monthly cycle, the constant rising and falling of sun and moon gives us a daily cycle, and the tides give us a natural quarter-day cycle as they come in and out. All other delineations of time, however, are arbitrary and man-made. The fast-ticking second appears nowhere in nature, except when people claim it resembles a human heartbeat, but this too is arbitrary, because human heartbeat constantly changes pace. The minute, named after Min, the moon, is also an invented cycle with no actual parallel in nature. The hour, named after Horus, the Egyptian Jesus, who divides the days and nights into 12 equal parts, is an ancient myth, but not a cycle found in nature. The worst and most spiritually enslaving of the created cycles, however, is undoubtedly the week. Because of this ludicrous, unnatural cycle, almost everyone in the world, no matter what their life was like the past 7 days, ends up being almost exactly the same the next 7 days. Every 7 times the sun rises and falls, most of the world's population hits the replay button on their life and continues repeating the same pattern and schedule like a skipping record for their entire existence. The worst part is that we have been so indoctrinated into the week system that every little facet of modern society, from schools to paychecks to TV programs, are irreversibly locked in. Jose Arguelles wrote, "Blue Monday, how I hate Blue Monday," is how the old Fats Domino song began. Why is that? Because, of course, that is the first day of the 5-day work week. Fats Domino must have had some clue about time killing us, otherwise it wouldn't have to be Blue Monday. So Monday through Friday, for most employed people, as well as schools and public and government institutions, is the work week. Then comes Saturday and Sunday, the weekend. The work week is ruled by the clock, which is why it is also referred to as 9 to 5. Saturday and Sunday should be soul time, but is it? Well, a little bit. There is Sunday church, maybe an hour or so for the soul, or maybe Saturday synagogue. But what is it really about, these weekends? It's about killing more time. It's sports and entertainment. It's football and basketball and baseball, big time. If you are in the rest of the world, it's soccer, very big time. If it weren't for television, this stuff wouldn't be so big, but it all goes hand in hand. Television, the weekend, and big-time sports. It is all a part of the same thing. I know, maybe you don't do that. Maybe you do something else. You go skiing or windsurfing. Maybe you go to the movies, or you go dancing, or maybe gambling down at the casino. Or you watch the Discovery Channel, or you take a self-help workshop. It doesn't matter, because then it is going to be Monday again, and the whole sequence repeats. The point is, your whole show, the time of your life, does reduce down to this weekly pattern, and it is killing you. You are putting your soul in a 7-day straitjacket. When the soul suffocates, you only get more bored and need more distractions. Do you see what's going on? You are hardly even alive. because it's your soul that really lives, and if you are not giving your soul the time it needs, then time is killing you. That means the time of the calendar and the clock that is embedded in your mind. But you are now becoming aware of it. This is a great first step. You can now say, I admit that I was powerless over the time I have blindly accepted all my life. One ancient secret society symbol often found on clocks and watches is the anchor. This shape of a typical ship's anchor is actually two Egyptian hieroglyphs put together. The top part of the anchor, shaped like a cross with a circle at the top, is the Egyptian ankh, hence the name Anchor. The bottom is shaped like the Egyptian boats of the dead, which carried souls during the afterlife. Two words which are often under the anchor symbol on clocks as well, king time, likely signifying the royal brotherhood manipulation of time. Buried inside wrote, the calendar year is an imperial narrative. The 7-day week is an imperial infliction. Circannual holidays are imperial flagposts. Mechanical time is an imperial installation. The merchant workday is an imperial offering. Greenwich Mean Time is an imperial sanction. The word calendar comes from the Roman Latin calens, which was the name of the account book, the book recording monthly debts and bills to be paid. The first day of each month in the early Christian Julian calendar was called calends, and that was when you had to pay your bills and debts. A quick look at the calendar will present some oddities even to the casual observer.